Hello and welcome to our virtual class. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about Franz Kafka, about the Metamorphosis. This is one of the most significant works of the 20th century literature. And you can see a Kafka self-portrait of myself behind me, kind of like an alter ego looking over. Let me share a screen with you and pull up the slides. Okay. Okay. Professor Mehrana Ibrahim, you can easily find me at mehr@yorku.ca. So just a quick recap. Make sure you participate in our synchronous classes. We already have two. We're going to have another one on June 23rd. And make sure you keep up writing those reflections. What is participation? Being present during synchronous classes and talking during your group activity. You don't necessarily have to individually speak, but as long as you're active within your group and your representative makes a meaningful contribution to the class discussion, you're going to be okay. Okay, short reflections. You have 3 to write. We originally had to write 4, but we got rid of 1 because of the holiday that we had. The main points for writing those paragraphs is to have a point, right? To have an argument, a perspective. We don't just need a summary of what happened. We need an answer to a why or a how or what do you think. We also give respectful but sometimes critical feedback to our peers. The content of the feedback is not going to be graded, but the fact that you have written to feedback will. Okay, Franz Kafka, The Metamorphosis. There are so many adaptations of this work. It's a story of not many pages, actually, but it has captured the imagination of our modern times to an extent that it's hard to look at modern literature without having gone through that experience of waking up one morning as a cockroach and having to wiggle our hands and feet. And then that sense of degradation, dehumanization, that sense of alienation from our physical body. It's very haunting, to say the least. Kafka died at the age of 40 only. He lived through the First World War as a Czech Jew, you could say, yeah. You know, he was born in a Jewish family in Czech, in Prague. Actually, at the time was part of the Hungarian Empire. And so he kind of felt that zeitgeist of, anti-Nazism, anti-Semitism in his hometown, although he didn't fully see the rise of Nazism and it culminating into Holocaust and all of that. But he was witnessing the anti-Semitic sentiments of Europe. So artists are intuitive. They can sense what is going on. They can sense how society maybe views them and their place in this world. We are through this idea of thrownness, being thrown into this universe without much sense. And we saw that in the Library of Babylon. We search for meaning, we search for our place in the world, our sense of belonging to a community, to a family, to a loved one, to a country, even to a race. And as by race, I mean to the race of being a human being. Here, we have somebody who's been thrown so far away from humanity that he either feels that he is a cockroach, a bug, a vermin, or that he actually is. We don't know. The story doesn't tell us, so it's up to you to interpret it. If this is a mental malady or is a physical condition that we are dealing with right now? Are these just emotions or are these facts as they are reported by the author? So what are Kafkaesque themes? Kafkaesque themes have to do with being caught in this net of bureaucracy, of senseless, senseless rules and laws that human beings have created for themselves. And without that sense of belonging, homeliness, without that sense of faith, even how do human beings feel? They feel kind of, there's an anxiety of nothingness, there's lack of meaning, there's this sense that nobody's going to save us, this lack of savior. With it comes guilt, and and we see that reflected in a lot of Kafka stories. Metamorphosis specifically has seen many great theatrical adaptation. I encourage you to go to a play if there is one. I mean, if you live near Toronto, there periodically you're going to see reinterpretation of Metamorphosis, and attend one and see how it's different. The experience of watching the story unfold on a stage as opposed to what we read in a book. Existentialism. What does it mean? It's one of the popular themes of 20th century. We exist in this universe, but do we live? Does our life have a purpose? Existentialists believe that question is hard to answer. So there's that dark, menacing, gaping void that is staring at us. We see it in the works of Nietzsche, and here in Kafka for sure. Alienation, in being kind of severed and torn from your origins, and as a result of maybe the world wars, maybe as a result of proliferation of many things, technology, warfare, and the fact that the fast pace of modern life, human beings who have been living almost the same way as their parents and grandparents for thousands and thousands of years, all of a sudden saw this fast change in their life. And this left a sensation of alienation from their body. Why? Because of the interference of warfare technology, all of that. They feel a sense of alienation from their society, from their species, from family, all of that. And so let's read together the opening lines of the book. This is a translation from German, so there are many, many different first sentences having to do with having to do with this incident. One morning, as Gregor Samsa was waking up from anxious dreams, he discovered that in bed he had been changed into a monstrous vermin. Now, monstrous vermin, kitchen bug, cockroach, all of these are different words from the German origin, which he uses a generic term for an insect. Okay. And then bear in mind that he's waking up from an anxious dream, but does he, or is he still dreaming? Are these facts? He's reporting it as if he's reporting, for example, this morning, there were like 20 police officers parading downtown. I don't know, something like that. So it's as if it's a fact that he's reporting. The tone of the sentence, it doesn't convey the depth of the terror that he's reporting. So he's like, one morning he woke up as a cockroach, as if it really happened. But is this a psychological metamorphosis, change? Metamorphosis is change from one state to another. In ancient Greek literature, we see usually change. We have the story of metamorphosis is kind of comic, people changing into donkeys or bears or different animals, but there's always that aspect of humor involved. Here we have no humor, and some of these plays are, if you look them up on YouTube, you can see that how creepy and how psychologically troubling and dark they are. The sensation of being this bug oozing with blood and pus and the dirt, and so you can see it here in one of the plays that was performing. The actors are acrobats or they're ballerinas to some extent, so they creep like a bug on the floor, and even on they have this special effect that makes it look as if they're creeping on the ceiling and the walls. And in this play in particular, he has this shadow that kind of follows him, this person dressed in dark clothes, and it's as if this bug is his alter ego, is his darker side, his unconscious. So is this a fact or fiction? Are we talking about a physical ailment or a mental transformation? These are questions for you. Which one interests you? You focus on that. Is this the condition of modern human being, to be so devalued, so dehumanized as to be turned into an insect? Because insects, we kind of have this immediate urge to kill them, unfortunately, or get rid of them at least. With animals, there's like, oh, they're cute, some of them, and we want to keep them and take care of them. We don't have the sense of caringness for insects. This is from another adaptation. You can see how beautiful he's trying to connect with his sister here, and he has no words, right? We have senseless gibberish that's coming out of his mouth. So the lines of communications are cut, but there's that sense of human that is hidden behind that bug and is trying to reach out. So another way to go about this short story is to look at the characters. Well, of course, Gregor Samsa. Who is he? This traveling salesman, unhappy with his job. He has to care for his family. They don't appreciate him. His father, definitely his mother. They're unkind to him. His sister, to some extent, provides some sorts of food and nourishment for him, but then she gives up to some extent. It's up to you how you read that relationship. So focus on the different characters, the parents, the sister, the tenants who are intruders. Who are they? Could they symbolize different aspects of our connection to this world, our parents? And you know that he's thrown an apple in the beginning of the story. So you have that the Genesis things going on, and he's injured. So they try to rearrange furniture for him. So just go through the characters while you're reading and see which one of the characters speaks to you most. Can you read the relationship between the characters to some extent? So so this was just a quick a kind of overview of what to look for and where this book sits with regards to modern literature. We are going to have a fruitful class discussion on this on June 23rd, and I'm really looking forward to hearing what you have to say about it. Always try to connect the work back to your own life experiences. I hope none of you have turned into insects, but what kind of what are some of the examples of things that kind of crush our soul to an extent that we feel we are not human anymore? So hopefully you haven't had such life experiences, but imagine somebody having gone through the First World War, and what could he have experienced that could affect the writing of this short story. And also think about mental health issues and their relationship with literature. To what extent does literature help as a therapy? Maybe the act of writing, is it therapeutic for the authors? For you, is it to kind of get out those monsters within? So all of these are questions we are going to be discussing on the coming Monday, and I can't wait to chat with you about it.